Hi guys, I'm Coach Corbett with the New Mexico State University Rodeo team, and I'd like to personally welcome you to the New Mexico 4-H Rodeo safety video. Now I know some of the information that you're about to listen to and watch in this video seems very basic and common knowledge, and some of it is, but I'd like to stress to you guys the importance of taking care of the basics. We need to make sure that we have good competitive equipment, that our horses are taken care of, and that we're taking care of ourselves. I hope that you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you after.
We're going to be talking about horse safety and procedures and keeping them safe at the rodeos. You want to make sure they're fed and watered on time, and on time I mean 2 hours, hour and a half before the rodeo. You want to make sure they're warmed up. I always like to get on an hour before the perf starts or the slack starts whenever I'm up, and make sure they're legged up, warmed up, ready to go, stretched out. An older horse, you really want to get out even earlier, so that way, like an older person, they have these older joints and they'll swell up, and you want them stretched out and feeling good before the rodeo. Also, I like to put bell boots, which go around the ankles of the horse, splint boots, which go around the tendons here, and with the tendons, you always want to pull into the inside or towards the tail, so that way you don't blow a tendon in that leg.
My rodeo tip would be to always wear polar wraps or splint boots. If you don't have splint boots, you can use polar wraps, but you have to make sure you wrap them correctly and very tight.
When your horse drinks from the same trough as other horses, that's how diseases and sicknesses are transmitted from each horse. If a sick horse drinks from a trough and then your horse comes in and drinks after, your horse has a possibility of getting sick and or catching whatever the other horse has. So that's why I personally like to bring my own buckets and make sure they're cleaned out, they're sprayed out, and the water is clean that my horses are drinking. I always like to think of my horse as a tool. It's like a tool. You don't want to leave it out in the rain and in the sun. If you leave a tool in the rain and the sun and then want to use it 2 weeks later, it's going to be rusted and you're not going to be able to use it. A horse is the same thing, and it's alive, so you even really have to take care of it better. No arena is ever the same. No dirt's ever the same at a rodeo. You always want to make it a habit to go and check the ground, so that way you know what you're going to do and you know what your horse is going to have to do to be able to get through that ground. Whether it's deep, whether it's perfect, whether it's hard, it doesn't matter. You always want to get in a habit of going and checking the ground, so that way you know how you're supposed to perform and how your horse is going to perform.
I'd like to talk to you guys about the importance of being safe in a barrel racing and pole bending event. My first point to start off is your horse. It's very important for your horse to be in the best shape he can be in and on a diet that fits him best. Being in shape means being exercised daily, whether it may be going down a sandbank or loping or trotting in an arena. It's important for them to be in shape so they can perform at the best of their abilities. Second, I'd like to mention the saddle. A saddle is very important in being successful in the barrel racing or pole bending event. In order to be successful, you need a saddle that will fit you, but will also fit your horse. It's important that your saddle fits your horse so he may be comfortable when performing and perform at the best he can. A saddle that fits will leave room here for his withers and will not pinch. A saddle that fits you is also very important, so it allows you to stay in your seat and not to get in his way of running or doing his job. Along with saddles, I'd like to talk to you guys about your cinches being tight, meaning your front cinch, and if you have a back cinch, it being tight. It's important that your saddle stays tight so it doesn't slide or roll on your horse's back so he's able to focus and perform. A way to check your saddle if it's tight or not tight enough, if your hand can go through here, you should be good, not too tight. If your saddle doesn't move, how it stays right here, it's perfect. Lastly, I'd like to talk to you guys about boots on your horse. Boots are very important on a horse to keep their legs safe from any damage in tendons or bones or anything in there. Bell boots that go around the hoof are important for overreaching, so they won't clip or pull a shoe. Splint boots are important on a horse to keep their front legs from damage in tendons or bones right in there or anything important. Hind boots are important for their hind legs to keep their hocks and everything safe. That way when they turn around barrels, they won't burn or anything on their back legs.
I would like to talk a little bit about just how to safely saddle our horse and just
make sure everything is in good working condition for roping. One of the major parts that you need to make sure you check every time you saddle your horse is make sure that your latigo straps, they're not worn or brittle. They're in good working condition. You can oil them up to keep them lasting longer. And when you cinch your horse up, it's always important to make sure that you get at least maybe 3 wraps of your latigo around your cinch. That way, if something does actually happen and your latigo breaks for some reason, you know, there's still something to kind of hold your saddle on. And so when we're team roping, you want to make sure that your saddle is tight enough that when you rope and you dally, that your saddle's not going to fall off. If our saddle is too loose, then that's when we get in a dangerous area, getting ourselves in a wreck, our horse in a wreck. And it's better that everything is tight before you get ready to rope. You know, when you warm your horse up, you don't want to keep it too tight, but then as you're getting ready to go, make sure that everything is snug and your saddle isn't going to be going anywhere. That's the #1 key part to being safe when saddling your horse for roping. So when we're talking about our bridle and our tie down, there's a few key things that we want to make sure we check every time. We want to make sure that our headstall is a good quality leather, good thickness, not too thin or poor quality. And when you put your bridle on your horse's mouth, you want to make sure that it's snug in there, not too tight, but not too loose. I see that a lot at rodeos. People have their bit hanging too loose in their horse's mouth, and they're not getting any contact. They don't have good enough breaks. We want to make sure that the tie-down strap right here is not brittle or anything like that, and it's in good working condition. So that way when we're making a run for whatever event we might be doing, we don't have the chance of it breaking during the middle of our run. If your tie-down strap breaks, it could wrap around your horse's leg or you or anything like that, and has potential for a hazard for your horse and yourself. We want to make sure that when we're purchasing our tack, that we want to get a headstall that I personally like something that is sewn or riveted and it has sturdy leather. When we're roping or doing any event, we want to have a good single rein, not split reins. We're not out on the ranch or anything. We're in the rodeo arena, and we want to give ourselves the best advantage with a single pair of reins. It makes everything much easier when competing in the timed events.
We're going to be talking about the team roping event now. That's where one guy ropes the head of the steer and the heeler comes in and ropes him around the feet. A heeler uses a stiffer rope. He wants it to be a tad bit newer so that way it's not burnt up and the coil will not suck down around his hand and possibly lose a finger to it.
So I'm the header over here, and I have an example of a rope that's more worn out and not exactly safe to use. It's had a lot of runs on it. It's got some smooth marks, and it's starting to fray a little bit right here. And this is a main area where you would dally a lot, and so that's why it's pretty worn here. And over time, it has the possibility of actually breaking in the middle of making a run.
Also, down here, the rawhide on the Hondu, if you look at this newer rope, it's nice and fresh, it's not worn out. Whether if you look at Wyatt's rope here, it's very worn out. I mean, there's another chance of that breaking too, and not feeding as well.
So the next part that we'd like to talk about is always wearing a glove. A good cotton roping glove is the way to go. You can get them at your feed store, same place you buy your ropes, and it'll just prevent you from burning your hand and preventing injury to your hands while roping.
When you dally, you're gonna grab your rope, come across here, and you're gonna put it all the way around the horn and pull back. It's not safe when you have a rope like Wyatt's, and he's gonna show you what could happen when it comes down. That coil could suck down to it.
When you dally up, you have the possibility of this rope being so worn out, it folds up easily, unlike McLean's rope would, and you have the possibility of your rope, you know, potentially coming and sucking around your fingers, and that's how you lose finger limbs. One thing I'd like to just be more specific about talking about dallying, we need to always remember that whether we're heading or heeling, always make sure that our left hand is out of the way and your coils are out of the way of your saddle horn. And then when we go to dally, make sure that our thumb is always facing up, and that when we get a dally, keep our hand a safe distance away to make sure that in case our rope slides or anything, there's not a chance of a coil coming around your fingers or getting your fingers sucked into the saddle horn.
My safety tip is, in the roping events, always carry a good sharp knife. So if you ever get in a wreck, you can always get out. So always carry one of these somewhere where you can get to it quickly.
I'm going to talk to you guys about the steer wrestling event in Rodeo. It's where 2 cowboys, 2 horses, and 1 steer go down in an arena. And the hazer's job is to keep the steer running straight, and the bulldogger's job is to jump off his horse running 40 miles an hour, grab the steer by his horns, and wrestle him to the ground until all 4 feet are facing in the same direction. What I like to look for when I first get to a rodeo in the bulldog end is to see how the ground is. If the ground's nice and fluffy and it looks like I could get through it pretty easy, then I'm going to know that I could hit on top of it, and I won't have to worry about my knees or my heels getting a big absorption of the hard ground. If the ground's hard, then I know I want to really hit on the toes or the balls of my feet, so that way my heels won't hurt, my knees won't hurt. If it's deep and heavy, I want to make sure I stay on top of it, same way, toes down, so that way no knee injury and no hip or body injury to me or the cattle is going to happen. So what you're going to do, you're going to grab this steer by his horns. You're going to place your feet here at 11 o'clock. You don't want to hit at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, because if you hit at 1 o'clock, you have a chance to hula hand the steer, which is where you guys flip end over end, and that can result in a bad injury, a horn break or a knee bust or something. So you want to hit with your legs about 11 o'clock, tight head catch. You're going to bring him around, hook his nose, and lay him on his side.
So we're in the calf roping event now, and there's a lot of key things that we need to make sure that we're safe with when making our calf roping. There's a lot of moving parts, and we need to make sure that we're safe the whole entire time. So when we're tying our rope onto our saddle, we want to make sure that we always have a rope horn knot for tying our rope on. They have metal horn knots and plastic horn knots, but the rope one is your best option because it is never going to come loose. Metal ones or plastic ones can loosen when your rope is tied onto your saddle horn, and you have the possibility of slipping your finger in there and hurting yourself very badly. So what we're doing here is we put our rope through the keeper, which is connected to our tie down, and this is going to make sure that our horse's head stays facing us the whole time and he doesn't turn away from us and cause a wreck. So we put our rope through the keeper, then through the neck rope, underneath our reins, and then to the saddle horn. And when we tie our rope onto the saddle horn, we want to make sure that we cinch it down as tight as we possibly can get it. That way that when we're making our run, there's no chance of it coming loose and accidentally slipping your finger in there when you're getting off and causing yourself to cut your fingers. Always double check everything before you go. Make sure your horn knot is good, make sure your neck rope and your keeper are working, and that your rope is in good condition to help you to do your best. So now that we got our calf caught and we're down the rope to him, there's a few things that we need to make sure that we do to help ourselves be safe when flanking our calf and then getting him tied. When we're running to our calf, we want to make sure that we run in there and we are in an athletic stance, athletic position. If we just run down there standing straight up, we have a possibility of the calf running us over, knocking us down, and getting us hurt. When we flank them, get in an athletic stance, not standing straight up. If you're standing straight up, then you have the possibility of hurting your back or something like that. Use your legs to roll the calf over and get him on the ground.
Hi, I'd like to talk to you guys about the safety and the importance of safety in the goat tying event. It's important that you're mentally and physically ready for this event. By physically ready, I mean being in shape at the best you can be and allowing yourself to stretch before the event. Second, I'd like to talk to you about your saddle being nice and tight so you won't roll and you can step off nice and easy. It's important to be aware of your body position when you're tying a goat. Body position should look somewhat like this. Shoulders nice and square, even with your goat straight, looking straight, so you're able to Swing your leg over nice and easy. My shoulders are back, hips stay nice and square, everything facing forward. So this way I'm able to step off and run straight to my goat without any injuries.
Hi, my name is Amy Wyatt and this is my horse Magnum. I choose to compete with a helmet for its safety, and I personally think it's comfortable. And also, I don't get distracted by it because it doesn't fall off because it's attached. And you can also ride in style. And it's not like your usual bike helmet, it's specifically made for horse riding. You can find one online or at your local tack store. Now I'm going to talk about stretching. I like to stretch before I go and run goats. So my legs are nice and stretched out and flexible, so when I go and run and get off at a run, for goats, I don't hurt myself or pull anything. And some other people like to stretch their arms out for roping, so they can also be flexible whenever they're roping their calf or their steer and not pull anything.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our rodeo safety video. We hope that you learned a few things, and remember, it's extremely important to take care of the livestock that we're competing on, to take care of the equipment that we're using before and after we compete, to double check that, and also to take care of ourselves. We believe that if you have those three things working together, not only will you be extremely safe, but you'll also be very successful. One thing to keep in mind is that while you're representing State 4-H at these rodeos, when you have a performance that doesn't go the way that you would like it to, you need to remember that there are young men and young women looking at you as role models. And so it is very important that we don't pitch a fit or have a bad attitude, because these young men and young women are looking to each and every one of you as what they would like to be when they grow up. So it's extremely important to be professional no matter your age. Thanks again for watching the New Mexico 4-H Rodeo safety video, and good luck this year at your rodeos.